I used to think silence was a form of grace. That not reacting meant I was being the bigger person. But the day my son heard a man laugh about where he came from, something cracked in me I didn't know was breakable. My name's Mira. I'm 33, and I married Alex when I was 26. He's the kind of man people trust right away. Solid handshake, warm voice, always the first to help someone carry chairs after a neighborhood BBQ. We met at a community event, and 6 months later, he was holding my son Micah's hand like he'd always belonged there. Micah was born when I was barely out of high school. I raised him mostly alone until Alex stepped in. Never as a savior, just as someone who saw Micah as a kid worth loving. We never used words like stepson in our home. Micah was his from day one. At least, that's how it was with us. But not with the world. Alex's family kept their distance. Quiet judgments hidden behind polite nods. No birthday cards, no framed photos that included Micah. And when Alex got promoted to a managerial role last spring, the new social circles weren't much better. His boss, Greg, was all smiles and handshakes at first. Said things like, "Family man, love that." But I could always sense the calculation behind his eyes. Last month, Greg threw a company BBQ at his home. Big backyard, catered ribs, those white folding chairs no one likes sitting in for more than 10 minutes. Alex asked if we'd go. I hesitated. These events always felt like a test I didn't know how to pass. But Micah was excited. He'd just won a math contest at school, and he wanted to show Alex's coworkers the little plaque they gave him. So we went. Micah picked out his nicest shirt. Blue, buttoned all the way up. He gelled his curls back and asked me 3 times if it looked okay. "You look like the smartest guy in the room," I told him. We got there early. Greg came over, drink in hand, already laughing too loud. He clapped Alex on the back, said something about keeping the numbers up, then turned to Micah and ruffled his hair. "Who's this sharp guy?" he asked. "This is Micah," Alex said. "My son." Greg nodded. "Nice. Real nice." Micah smiled and held out his hand to shake, the way Alex taught him. Greg laughed, shook it quickly, then turned back to the circle of coworkers. That's when I heard him. He didn't whisper. He didn't check if we'd walked away yet. He said with a crooked grin, "Nice kid." What charity did they pick him up from? I froze. I couldn't see Micah's face right away, but I saw his body go still, like someone had hit a mute button on him. He let go of my hand and walked straight toward the edge of the yard, past the tables, past the games, until he sat down by the fence. Alone. I didn't follow him right away. My feet wouldn't move. My fingers clenched the edge of my plastic plate like I needed it to hold me up. Alex didn't hear it. He was talking to someone about project timelines, but I saw him glance toward Micah, then toward me, with that question in his eyes. What just happened? I couldn't say it out loud. The rest of the afternoon blurred. Micah stayed quiet. He ate 1 bite of a burger and spent the rest of the time sketching in the notebook he brought. Nobody noticed. That night in the car, Micah asked, "Do people think I'm fake?" I didn't know how to answer. Before I could, Alex looked in the mirror and said, "Why do you ask?" Micah shrugged. Quiet. Just something I heard. When we got home, he went straight to his room. No complaints, no cartoons, just closed the door and turned off the light. Alex stayed in the driveway. I thought he was just finishing a phone call. But when I went back outside 2 hours later, he was still sitting in the dark. Engine off, window halfway down, holding something in his hand. A small, sealed envelope with Micah's name written across the front. He looked up at me and said, "I didn't think he'd need this yet." I stepped closer. "What is it?" Alex didn't smile. He just said, "It's for the day he realizes people don't always see him the way we do." He handed it to me. On the back of the envelope in Micah's handwriting were 3 words. "For when it hurts." I didn't open the letter that night. I placed it gently on the kitchen counter next to a bowl of oranges and Micah's math test with a bright red A+ at the top. On the front of the envelope, in his careful handwriting, were the words, For when it hurts. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Alex breathed steadily beside me, asleep or pretending to be. My chest felt tight, like someone had set a cold stone right in the middle of it. Micah isn't the kind of kid who demands attention. He doesn't throw tantrums, doesn't interrupt conversations, doesn't whine when he's left out. He tries so hard to not be a burden, to just be good. Maybe that's why people find it so easy to overlook him. I thought back to all the family parties where he wasn't in the photos unless someone remembered at the last second. To the Christmas 2 years ago when all the kids wore matching red sweaters. Except Micah, who wore the plain navy one I bought on sale. Alex's sister told me, we didn't know if we should include him. You know, technically. Technically. That word has carved more wounds in my son than anyone realizes. No one in Alex's family ever said Micah didn't belong, but they didn't need to. They let their actions speak. No birthday invitations, no cards, no family tree projects that listed his name. And I kept making excuses. They're busy. They'll come around. It just takes time. But time didn't soften them. It just taught Micah to stop expecting to be chosen. I remember the day he asked me, "Do I have real relatives too?" I told him, "Of course you do." He nodded, but I knew he didn't believe me. The next morning, the envelope was gone from the counter. I found Micah sitting on his bedroom floor with it open in his lap. He looked up, eyes a little puffy but calm. "I only read the first part," he said. "I didn't want to see the rest unless I really had to." I sat beside him on the carpet. "And yesterday wasn't really had to?" He shook his head. "Not yet, but maybe next time." He didn't say what he meant. He didn't have to. That week, I started seeing everything through a different lens. Every ignored question at dinner. Every missing photo on the wall. Every family group chat where a picture of Micah went unliked, unmentioned. I started to realize I was the only one still trying to make him visible. And the scariest part? I think Micah was starting to forget what it felt like to be seen too. A few nights later, Alex came into the kitchen while I was rinsing dishes. "I want to show you something," he said, handing me a thin folder. Inside was Micah's latest report card. Straight A's. But underneath it was a letter from his teacher. Micah is not only an exceptional student, he's an exceptional human being. He organized a reading group for younger kids, handmade cards for a classmate with leukemia, and leads by quiet example. I've learned more from him than I've taught him. My throat tightened. "I sent this to Greg," Alex said. "And to my parents. No explanations. Just this." I turned to him. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "I let you fight alone for too long. I see it now. And I've made my choice." I thought that would be the biggest twist of the week. But 3 days later, Greg emailed me. Not Alex, me. Just one sentence. "I apologize." I never meant for him to hear it, but maybe it's good he did. Greg's email sat in my inbox like a grenade with the pin pulled. "I apologize. I never meant for him to hear it, but maybe it's good he did." That wasn't an apology. That was a man saying, "I got caught, and I'm annoyed you made it matter." I stared at the screen for a full minute, then closed the laptop. I didn't show Alex. Not yet. I didn't want to see that tight line his mouth made every time someone failed Micah and expected us to just take it. We had spent years walking on eggshells for people who didn't care if our feet bled. That ends here. A few days later, Micah's 10th birthday rolled around. We kept it simple. Just close friends, neighbors, some of Alex's coworkers who actually remembered his name. I asked Micah where he wanted to have it. He said the park near the school. The one with the picnic tables and the tire swing that always leans a little too far to the left. That morning, he was up at 6:30, already dressed, already brushing his hair. He looked focused, not excited like kids usually are on their birthdays. Just quiet, determined. He had a folder tucked under his arm. Red, the kind they give out during parent-teacher conferences. I didn't ask what was in it. The party was sweet. Nothing fancy. Pizza, cupcakes, water balloons. The kind of thing you remember not because it was big, but because it was real. And then Greg showed up. I hadn't invited him. But Alex had mentioned the party in passing at work, and apparently that was enough. He came in loud, holding a gift bag with tissue paper sticking out like it was a bribe. "Hey, birthday man," he boomed, handing it to Micah. Micah took the bag, looked inside, a drone, expensive, and said, "Thanks." Just that. No smile, no excitement. Greg leaned in toward Alex, joking, "See? I made up for the charity comment." Alex didn't laugh. He didn't even fake it. Micah walked over to the table, set the drone down, and came back holding the red folder. He stood in front of Greg, in front of everyone. The yard got quiet. "Mr. Green," he said, "I want to give you something too." Greg looked confused. "What's this, bud?" Micah opened the folder, pulled out 3 papers, one by one. First, a copy of the email Greg had sent me. I had printed it out, not knowing why, just a gut feeling. Now it was in Micah's hands, bold font at the top, my name on the recipient line. Second, a letter Micah wrote the night after the BBQ. "Dear Mr. Green, you said I was from a charity. That's wrong. I'm from my mom, who raised me alone until my dad chose us. He didn't have to. He wanted to. That's more than blood. That's love. I hope someday you learn the difference." The third paper? That one broke something open in me. It was a list, titled, "Things I've Done Without Being Noticed." 27 items, helping tutor kids in his class, organizing a food drive, sitting with the new kid at lunch every day for a month. Greg stared at the list like it was written in a language he couldn't read, then laughed like the coward he is. "All right, point taken," he said, and started turning away. But Micah wasn't done. He held out one last item, the same drone still in the gift bag. "You can take this back," he said, calm. "It doesn't match anything I want." Greg stood frozen. Everyone watched. Alex took one slow step forward, placed his hand on Micah's shoulder. And then Greg, this grown man in front of a 10-year-old, said, "Suit yourself. I'll give it to a kid who actually deserves it." I swear to God, my hand clenched so hard I thought I'd crack my own wrist. Before I could move, Alex did. "Number you won't," he said. Then he took the drone out of the bag, turned to the grill behind us, and without a word, slammed it down hard on the metal. It cracked, plastic and wires spilling like guts. The yard went dead silent. Greg stammered something about overreacting, but nobody listened. He left without saying goodbye. Micah didn't flinch, didn't look scared, just steady. And that's when I saw it. The real twist wasn't Greg breaking. It was Micah not breaking. After Greg walked off, the only sound left was the sizzling meat on the grill and the wind rustling through the trees. People didn't know whether to clap or hide. I didn't either. Micah picked up the red folder, tucked the papers neatly back inside, and walked over to the picnic table like he'd just turned in a school project. He asked for another juice box. That's it. That was my son. Alex sat beside him, didn't say anything for a full minute. Just looked at him like he was trying to memorize the moment. And maybe we were. Because something shifted that day. In all of us. We stopped asking to be seen. We started daring people to look away. The next morning, Alex was called into a meeting with HR. Of course. Greg filed a complaint. Said Alex created a hostile environment and encouraged a public outburst. Classic move from someone who can't handle being held accountable. Alex didn't beg. He didn't explain. He didn't even raise his voice. He handed them a flash drive. It had a recording. See, what Greg didn't know was that Alex had started keeping audio logs of meetings. Standard protocol in his department for team accountability. He just hadn't told Greg which meetings. One of those logs captured Greg bragging to a colleague about how he put the new manager in his place by reminding him he married a charity case with baggage. His words, not mine. HR didn't say much, but within 48 hours, Greg was transitioned to a consulting role, which is corporate speak for we pushed him out with a fake smile. I didn't ask Alex how he kept his cool. I knew. You don't explode when you've got truth locked and loaded. You just wait. A week later, we got a call from Alex's parents. They wanted to talk. I said no. Alex said no. But Micah said, I think I want to. I was floored. Why? He shrugged. I want to know if they ever saw me. Really saw me. So we invited them over. Saturday afternoon, same backyard. No balloons, no cupcakes, just folding chairs and cold tea. They arrived looking nervous, too late for guilt, too early for grace. His mom started with, Micah, we brought you something. It was a thick envelope. Cash, I guessed. Micah didn't reach for it. He just asked, Can I ask a question first? His grandfather nodded. Micah pulled out a laminated print of a photo. It was from 2 years ago. Family reunion. Everyone in matching shirts. Micah cropped out. He held it up and said, Why didn't you ask me to wear the same shirt? They looked stunned. His grandmother blinked, flustered. We didn't think you'd want to. I was 8, Micah said. I wanted to match. No one spoke. Then he stood, pulled something from his pocket. A tiny metal pin, just a small gold circle with the words, I belong. He said, I made this at school. We were supposed to design something that shows what matters most to us. His voice never shook. I didn't need you to give me space. I needed you to stop acting like I had to earn it. Then, he handed them the pin. Here, he said, you can keep this, in case you forget again. His grandmother covered her mouth. His grandfather looked down. Neither reached for the envelope again. They left shortly after. I thought that was the end of it. But the twist came the next morning. I opened the mailbox and found a small padded package. No return address. Inside was the pin, my son's pin. But something was taped to the back of it now. A check. 5 figures, signed by Greg Green, and a note that simply said, He earned more than I ever did. I sat on the edge of Micah's bed that night, holding the check in one hand and the pin in the other. He was asleep, curled up with his old stuffed tiger, still small enough to look like a little boy, but carrying something in his chest most grown men never do. Clarity. I never told him about the money. He didn't need it to mean anything. But I kept the check. Not to cash, just to remember. Greg's fall wasn't public, but it was complete. A month after the consulting role stunt, word got out about the HR complaint, the recording, the drone incident. His brand, as he called it, started to crumble. No company wanted to touch him. He tried spinning it into a narrative about cancel culture, but no one bought it. Because there wasn't a mob after him, just one quiet 10-year-old who told the truth in front of everyone. As for Alex's parents, we haven't seen them since that afternoon. They mailed Micah a birthday card the following year. No gift, no apology, just, hope school is going well. He didn't open it, just placed it in the kitchen drawer without a word. I didn't press, because by then something had changed. We weren't standing in the doorway of anyone's acceptance anymore. We had our own house, and we shut the damn door. That summer, Micah got a scholarship to a youth leadership camp. Not because he had straight A's, though he did, but because his teachers said he showed up for others when no one was watching. That line stuck with me, because it's true. He did. And finally, someone was watching back. One afternoon in August, Alex came home early from work with something behind his back. Micah was doing a puzzle at the kitchen table. Hey, bud, Alex said, pulling out a simple wooden box. Want to help me hang something? Inside the box was a plaque, engraved on it. Chosen. Loved. Always ours. Underneath 3 hooks, one for Alex's keys, one for mine, and one for Micah's backpack. Micah stared at it for a long second. Then he whispered, "Does this mean I finally have a spot?" Alex crouched down. "You always had a spot. We just made it easier for everyone else to see." Micah didn't cry. He smiled. A real one this time. And I swear the air in the house got lighter. But the final closure? It came quietly. A few weeks later, Greg's wife emailed me. She wrote, "I left him. I should have done it sooner. I used to think your family was too much. Turns out, you were the only ones being real." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Sometimes revenge isn't about watching someone fall. It's about watching someone rise, and knowing no one can take that from them again. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that silence doesn't keep the peace. It keeps the pattern. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let your child see you break the silence first, so they know they're allowed to. If any of this hit home, if you've been the only one fighting for someone to be seen, I hope you'll share your story in the comments. I promise you're not the only one. And if you want to hear more true stories like this, messy, hard but honest, stick around. There's more coming. But for now, thanks for listening. Really,